Hello there. Welcome to Sanders Presents. If you're enjoying the content we're producing, please consider following the link in the description below to become a YouTube member today. I'm Greg, and today we're going to talk about something that, as a fan, tickles me to no end, and that is an X-Men game. You know, we have Avengers represented, we have Spider-Man represented, and we have Wolverine being represented. But what we don't yet have officially announced is an X-Men game, a tried and true X-Men game, something that is a modern interpretation of X-Men Legends and something that takes a new spin on this beloved franchise. I mean, we're even getting Guardians of the Galaxy. So in terms of, capturing each, the pillars of all these different teams, the X-Men and the lack of X-Men is quite apparent. So I thought it'd be fun to just kind of drop in and start a conversation about what we want from an X-Men game, what our expectations are from an X-Men game. For me, like first and foremost, I want it to be cooperative, but I also want it to be competitive, right? I want there to be the X-Men are built around their team dynamic, so therefore it lends itself very well to cooperative play. At the same time, because they have enemies like the Brotherhood of Mutants, it lends itself very well to competitive play. Teams of 6 versus 6 with crazy mutant powers fighting in large-scale zones, whether it be Genosha, Krakoa, Asteroid M, New York, Canada, various places across the globe. But it is key to me in terms of X-Men that it be cooperative. There has to be a multiplayer element to it. I say that, of course, but I also have to point out I do not want it to be a live service game. I would prefer if X-Men, if an X-Men game launched and it was, the core package and then there was DLC, right? I would prefer DLC versus paying for cosmetics. I would absolutely prefer a season pass. Just a chunk of season pass, and if that's successful, then give us another season pass. And budget it in response to the success of that. That's what I would prefer to see. That's me. It is a last generation way of thinking, I suppose, but that is what I prefer. Now, in terms of campaign and in terms of co-op, I think the campaign should be completely playable in cooperative with 4 to 6 players. I will always err on the side of larger player numbers. I just think 4 is too small. That's what she said. But I think having 6 people together playing the game is a far more gripping and more riveting experience. And it's more empowering and more immersive. So 4 to 6 players in drop-in, drop-out co-op, because I think drop-in, drop-out co-op is very, very important. You take on the roles of your favorite X-Men. You go through the narrative together. You play through the narrative structure together. You experience the story. You can experience the story solo. You can, like I said, solo is an option for you to experience it. Co-op is an option as well. And again, you play as iconic known X-Men. This is not a build your own mutant. This is not a create your own character. You play through the story, and while this story is going on, you then have the multiplayer component. And this multiplayer component is built entirely around, if you are an X-Man, it is built entirely around taking on missions, and your base is the Xavier Institute. So you get to roam around the Xavier Institute. The Xavier Institute in this multiplayer environment is completely open world. You get to explore all the grounds and the rooms. You get to explore everything as your favorite X-Men characters. You get to train. You have the danger room, and then you can take on missions with friends. And again, you board the Blackbird or the X-Jet, whichever you want to call it. You board that, you take off, and you take off missions, and then you come back to base. If you are a Brotherhood, if you are a part of Magneto's Brotherhood, then your base is Asteroid M. And again, you get to explore Asteroid M. There will be other players there. It's a living hub world, and again, you are when you load up into the server, you are dropped in with players who have chosen their avatars as a different character, so that it's wholly unique. So that if you're walking around as Magneto, for example, you're not going to run into another Magneto, because the game's hub, the server, sets you up with, oh, okay, well, if you're Magneto, then we'll put you in, we'll spawn you in a zone where there isn't another Magneto. Again, just a smart algorithm system that is possible. And again, it would be the same case if you were in the Xavier Institute. So you would launch with a massive roster, and the DLC would add and expand it as well. You would have missions, and you would have structure built around whether it's sentinels attacking mutants out in the out in the open world, or missions where you have to protect and save mutants and you have to recover, missions where you have to break mutants out, politically charged missions against Senator Robert Kelly, again missions against the Marauders, missions against Mr. Sinister, just completely evolving and living and breathing world in terms of that, in terms of the multiplayer cooperative environment that escalates and evolves and that cycles through. So, it would cycle through and special missions would pop up, and all this can be done without it being live service. It doesn't have to be live service to be capable of doing that, to have challenges, to have this kind of system. It doesn't have to be that live service mentality. And then, as I said, DLC packs could add other characters and could add, expansions to the single player or, cooperative story, either to the narrative story rather, and then can also further expand the multiplayer aspects, all for a finite cost, because that's important to me, the finite cost. You purchase the game, you purchase the season pass. If that season pass is successful, then a second season pass goes into production, and it is all finite. The costumes, the unlockable outfits, it's all built into it. But the goal is being able to experience and live as these characters. So it's not a case of a looter shooter. You're not running missions for gear. Gear doesn't work in terms of the X-Men. It's all about the powers. You're not working for anything like that. You're basically going in terms of any kind of experience. It's just about being the X-Men, learning your abilities, mastering your abilities, and again, having a cooperative mutant experience with your friends. This is not gear-based. You're not hunting gear. Gear doesn't make sense for the X-Men. It's absolutely illogical to have any kind of live service gear-based shooter mechanics. Obviously, I use the word shooter lightly for the X-Men. It just doesn't make sense. Now, in terms of characters, obviously that's wide open. In terms of mechanics, gameplay mechanics, Nightcrawler, Storm, Cyclops, obviously Wolverine. I 100% expect Wolverine to be a part of this. Professor Xavier, you have Magneto, you have Avalanche, you have Blob, you have Sabretooth, you have Mystique. The list goes on and on. Shadowcat, all of these characters, and the characters you take into the missions will play into how you take on that mission. Going through a door as Shadowcat is very different from busting through the door as Juggernaut. And playing in the cooperative story mode, you are only the X-Men. And that story mode is then built and structured alongside a narrative-driven encounter where you're encountering the Brotherhood. So you're fighting against, characters like Juggernaut and characters like Magneto in a story structure. But then you can go into multiplayer, and in the multiplayer component, you can choose your side and play as these characters. And to me, that's what's really exciting. That's at least how I would open it up. So again, like I said, I'm just opening up the conversation. I would love to hear your thoughts on an X-Men game in terms of cooperatively driven, single-player avenues you'd like to see it go down. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and hopefully we'll be able to follow up on this. To my YouTube members, thank you so much for your support and for making this content possible. If you're interested in becoming a YouTube member, you can follow the link down in the description below, and you can support the channel today for $2.99 a month. Thank you for considering. I do appreciate it. To everyone, thank you for being a part of the conversation. Please consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing this content across social media. Over half of you are not subscribed, and it is free to do. And of course, all of this helps with YouTube's analytics and algorithms. And again, I just do appreciate you taking the time. Above all else, and most importantly, stay safe, take care of others, and have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.